Hello, I'm Danielle from Pull Into Presence. I've taken these last few weeks off a little hiatus just to focus on my own personal mindfulness practice with work, with the news, fires. There's so much going on in our world today, and I needed a little quietude for myself. Ooh, the birds outside are making lots of noise. So, as I've been over these last couple weeks, as I've been kind of confined here in California, we got even more confined with all of these fires. We're kind of stuck with our own thoughts. I mean, that's what 2020 has sort of been about. And watching the news, scrolling through my social media feeds, there's all these things, these debates, all just dragging me into them. I can feel it in my body, all this anxiety. And I've been thinking about what I wanted to talk about. And I joined a neighborhood book club, and we read the book How to Be Anti-Racist by Ibram X. Kendi. And there was a part in it that really spoke to me. And I was like, wow, this book, it's not a mindfulness book, but it is basically a mindfulness practice. One of the things I really loved that he said was racism, for example, has this, it's a pejorative. It is like a negative connotation. Nobody wants to be called a racist. And as soon as anybody thinks that, they put up all these defenses and the conversation sort of stops there. And he has this desire that we start to just use it as a descriptive, that it's not automatically negative. It's just used to describe different policies, different actions, things like that. That if we can take this negative connotation off of it, then we can start having real discussions about it. That brings me to today, because that is at its core a mindfulness practice. We turn towards the things that make us uncomfortable. When we see that is fear that's putting up those walls, we're afraid to see things about ourselves. We're afraid to look at it. We're afraid it might be too dark. We're afraid we might be something that we don't want to be. We put up all these walls and we spend a lot of energy protecting ourselves, when really the real change and transformation can be from letting those walls down, from looking at what's really there. And then we can start the conversation on a personal level and then about these bigger societal things. So today I was thinking about mindfulness and the isms. There's racism, there's sexism, ageism, heterosexism. There's all these isms out there, and they make us really uncomfortable. And when things make us really uncomfortable, that's when we know there's work there. A lot of times when I've talked to people about a mindfulness practice, what can a mindfulness practice do for you? How deep can it really go? One of the things I've always said is, how uncomfortable do you want to get? The more uncomfortable you're willing to get, the deeper you can really go, the more intimate you can become with yourselves, because you really start diving into these unconscious patterns deep down inside. And so when I look at these things, when we look out into the world and maybe we're troubled by these things, or we're afraid that at this moment in time or in the past that we've done things we weren't proud of, there are things we don't want to look at, that's where I think Ram Dass calls it grist for the mill. It's all just work to be done. So racism, sexism, ageism, heterosexism, ableism, there's so many to look at. And we all want to look at ourselves as good people. And I truly believe that the majority of people that you talk to, we do want to lift each other up. We want people to be able to make their dreams come true. And in this moment in time, we're kind of being called to look at all those things. We're being called to look where people have said they've been disenfranchised, where people have said they've been hurt, they've not been treated fairly. Things are different for them. And it is difficult. It's difficult to look back into our history, our personal histories, and the larger history. And man, we just keep getting called to day after day after day. And I see so many people, myself included in moments, getting stuck in these conversations of just wanting to defend themselves. And I'm not here to tell you what to believe or to buy into anything that anyone may be telling you about yourself. What I'm telling you is that we have a moment in time where we can really explore our inner world. And we can do that. And it's part of a larger healing as well. If you see something in the news or see something in a feed or in a conversation you're having one-on-one with a friend, if you notice something is making you uncomfortable, if you feel a tension or a sensation somewhere in your body, there is a place to investigate, and that is a mindfulness practice. I know a lot of my male friends, for instance, they have felt that there have been, with the Me Too movement, sometimes this undeserved rage thrown at all men or men that didn't deserve it. And that's difficult. And so automatically those defenses go up, and it's scary for all of us. So I understand that reaction. And I know, for instance, another book that I just read was called Elegant Rage. It's about the intersection of feminism and racism. And the woman that wrote the book, she's a woman of color. She grew up in the South right around the same time that I was in middle school and high school. She talks about being in the gifted program, and suddenly all of her friends were white girls. And the stage that she sets with the time period, the school, the gifted program, it is as if she was describing, the place that I grew up in. And it really brought up a lot of feelings for me, because I remember in that time in the 90s, it seemed normal. I heard so many people say it. I don't believe in interracial dating, or my dad doesn't like black people. That's one of the examples she uses in her book, that sometimes her friends would say, oh, my dad doesn't really like black people. I remember for me, the one that came up was a lot of people didn't believe in races dating other races. When I look back up on that now, it brings up a lot of emotions for me, because being a part of that culture, saying those same things, as a kid where I didn't even really have fully developed belief systems, it still brings up this guilt, this shame in my gut, because I see myself as wanting to be part of the solutions, not part of the problems. And there is this dissonance, and it is hard to look at. And it is something that I've been looking at a lot quite recently. So I bring that up as a way to show you that I'm working through these same things as well. And with a little courage, with a little bravery, we can look at the people we were, we can look at the person we are now, we can look at the person we want to be, the people we want to be moving forward. And we can start to shape this world as we notice the places that maybe we were acting out of awareness, like we were not aware of the words we were saying, the effect that might have on other people, or like the culture that we were fitting into. And really, when we start to see things as they are, not as we wish they were, or as we wanted them to be, when we just see them as they are, that gives us this really beautiful opportunity to open up. It is that seeing things as they are that really opens that door for change. And so I challenge you in the next couple weeks to look at what makes you uncomfortable, especially when you're looking at the news, especially when you're having difficult conversations with friends, especially when something you have said makes someone else uncomfortable, or something they have said has made you uncomfortable, these places that you're suddenly going up against each other. And instead of feeling like you have to be different in that moment, or thinking that you should be anything than what you are, just start to observe and start to notice in your body, where do you feel it? Sometimes when I hear these silly things I've said in the past, these stupid things I've said in the past, no matter what it was about, there's embarrassing things, I feel it right there in the middle of my stomach. And when you start to become aware of that, when those feelings start to arise, that's when you're having a dialogue with a person, that you can stop yourself. Oh yeah, I'm getting uncomfortable right now. That totally changes the dynamic of conversations, because you're not lashing out of this uncomfortable feeling that you want to go away. And it really gives you an opportunity to learn about yourself, like I said, to be intimate with yourself. And yeah, it's that changes the world. I've said this, I believe, in the class. Acceptance is the first step to change. And that doesn't mean that we just accept that things are the way they are and there's nothing that we can do. But we have to see things clearly. And this practice is a practice of beginning to see things clearly by noticing where we're being set off. And these things that make us really uncomfortable, those are amazing places to begin your work. So If you can do it, instead of running away, we turn towards. We can use them as part of our practice. We can use them to, start to transform inside, and that does start to transform everything around us. Person by person, city by city, state by state, it's bigger and bigger and bigger. So with that, we're just going to take a couple minutes to sit in silence and notice if anything I said today has caused you to feel something, maybe in your stomach, in your heart, maybe your mind started to race. Just notice, and that's like a little flag, that little red flag that says there's work to be done. So with that, if you would like to take a couple moments in silence with me, find your comfortable seat. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath in through your nose and sigh it out, letting go. So now let your breathing return to normal. And if you think it would help you, sometimes when my mind is especially busy on the in-breath, I silently say, breathing in. On the out-breath, breathing out. And as your mind begins to quiet, you may notice sensations in the body. And if you feel you need to, you can focus the breath on any areas that feel stress, tension, pain, discomfort. Breathing in, breathing out. You may notice some changes, or it may stay the same. Just sitting with whatever arises. And as you continue to breathe, take your left hand and place it over your heart. Then take your right hand and place it over your left. Breathing in, breathing out. This is just a symbol of being there for yourself, no matter what may come up. Being unconditionally there for yourself in the moments that are full of joy, the moments that are full of rage, even in the moments that are shameful or you feel guilt, knowing that you will not abandon yourself. And as you breathe in and out, taking a moment to reflect, maybe asking yourself, where is this discomfort coming from? And seeing what comes to you. If you feel like you need more time in silence, stay here. Or if you feel that you are ready, take a deep breath in through your nose and sigh it out. Deep breath in, sighing it out. Deep breath in, sigh it out. Opening your eyes. Thank you for joining us this short time for Pull into Presence today. The two books I mentioned were How to Be Anti-Racist by Ibram X. Kendi and Eloquent Rage by Brittany Cooper. I think I forgot to say her name before, so both of them I highly recommend if you're interested in reading a little bit more about inequality and how to kind of operate in this world as an anti-racist. Have a wonderful day, and I will be back in a couple weeks.